I had a patient with liver failure and she was convinced she was pregnant. Sometimes the smallest things cause the biggest errors. And the problem is this patient didn't need a blood thinner, went home with the warfarin, took the warfarin, and he died. There's this one brand of medication for ADHD, and it's called Concerta. So we try to make these medicines kind of what we call modified release. So half of that capsule has got a little sponge in it that absorbs water.
Stay for more shocking pharmacy secrets. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Nadia's Lab. Today, I'm joined by my colleague, clinical hospital pharmacist Ali. Ali, welcome. Thank you for joining me
Thank you very much for having me, Nadia.
Ali, you're a senior hospital pharmacist. What does your day actually look like compared to what people think it looks like?
Yeah. Well, you make my role seem really important. I think hospital pharmacy is very different to what's portrayed or what people are going to think, especially depending on, I guess, the audience and where they're going to come from in the world. But hospital pharmacy is very out. Don't think of a pharmacy. Think of the ward. Think of clinics. So 99% of my job is actually on the ward. So I'm currently within cardiology. So I'm on the cardiology ward. We've got 27 beds, patients coming in pretty much every day with a heart attack or heart failure or arrest or something like that. And these are the patients that I'm reviewing. And if I want to sum it into like a small phrase, it's basically medicines optimization. It's making sure that these patients that are on the wards, the medical team are going to do an excellent job at diagnosing them, getting them started on hopefully most of the right medications, but it's actually about fine tuning it. So you might want to, the lead physician might want to start the patient on a medication, but actually I'll notice that the patient's kidney's not doing very well, or the patient's liver's not doing very well, or there's an interaction with another medication that the patient came in on. And these need to be identified to prevent errors happening, which could lead to harm or sometimes even death. So it is an important role, and it's important that pharmacists are there to pick these things up and optimize therapy for those patients.
That's a very good explanation. I feel like as pharmacists, we're not very good advocates at what we do, and a lot of people don't understand what we do. So I like this. And if someone shadowed you for a week, what do you think would shock them the most?
I mean, I've had, it doesn't have to be a week. I've had a nurse shadow me just the other day, and it was just for the morning. Um, I don't want to toot my own horn, but she was shocked because I think there's just not a realization of actually how much goes into it. Sometimes a medication can seem like it's been easily started, but that decision has taken a lot of work for that decision to actually have been made. So people get shocked at all of the research that goes underneath it all. You almost have to be able to do like a little literature review for a lot of these patients, a lot of these cases, because not everything's always apparent, not everything's always obvious. And sometimes I'm there just trying to like appraise evidence then and there on the spot to try and justify choosing one treatment over another treatment.
What's the weirdest thing that a patient has ever asked you?
Um, I think patients on the ward, they're not well, and they don't really care who they're speaking to. They just want help.
Yeah.
It's a cry for help. So they're gonna see a person, with a lanyard, with an ID, and they're not really gonna be very aware of the different roles. Whether it's a physiotherapist or a nurse they're grabbing, or a pharmacist or a doctor. So sometimes you will get weird requests. You'll get I've had requests to look at a patient's stool because they wanted to see what was inside of it, and I was just like, that's not me. I had a patient with liver failure. I don't think she knew she had liver failure. She had something called ascites, which is where patients who have these liver failure, they get water building up in their peritoneal cavity, so they get almost like a pregnant belly. And she was convinced she was pregnant, and kept on asking me to prod her, and I was just telling her that you're not pregnant, but I will try and grab someone else to do it. But I've had a lot of patients. I've had one patient very recently. He tried to convince me, poor guy, he was diabetic and his blood sugars weren't controlled. And he really tried to convince me that he was allergic to all insulin and all oral antidiabetics. And you try to reason with this patient, like, if you were allergic to insulin, you would be dead because you make insulin.
You have it in
You
your
have it in your
body.
body.
Yeah.
So it's challenging trying to navigate those kind of queries and educate patients and tell them where your boundaries are and where your competency is. And sometimes you want to help them, but you shouldn't be taking the role responsibilities for everything, and you've got to know.
Exactly. There's like a clear cut, this is what I can do as a pharmacist, and this is what I can't do.
Yeah.
I when I get any strange requests from a patient, um, I just kind of make it clear, like, I'm a specialist in medicine. You can ask me any medication question, even if I don't know the answer. I know where to look into it. But I feel like, don't ask me to like check someone's tools, because I wouldn't know, right? I wouldn't know.
Yeah, there's some sweet corn in that one.
And what's one drug that really like blows your mind every time you think of it or see it or dispense it?
Yeah, so there's loads of drugs that blow my mind because these little chemicals are going around your body and doing some amazing stuff that no one really knows about. But one of the things I think people forget about pharmacy is that it's not just a study of the chemical. It's not medicinal chemistry. Otherwise, that's its own degree. But it's also pharmaceutics, and pharmaceutics is basically like engineering for medicines. Um, so I really enjoyed pharmaceutics, and there are so many ways we have to like engineer medicines to be able to do its job. Because you can imagine if I developed a drug, if I discovered a drug, but I can't get it to where I want it to get it inside the body, then
Yeah.
it's not gonna. It means nothing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of drugs that actually get developed as a concept, and then you do like computation modeling to see whether it's going to get absorbed or how it's going to be removed from the body, and you realize it's not going to be a feasible drug to use, and they
Yeah.
get eliminated and pushed aside. So there's this one brand of medication called methylphenidate for ADHD, and it's called Concerta.
Concerta, yeah.
Concerta. And the problem with ADHD is that the second we give them stimulants to help kind of improve the symptoms, but the second um, that stimulant kind of wears off,
Yeah.
the ADHD comes back. And the problems with these stimulants is that they don't last very long in the body.
Yeah.
So it's not like we can take one tablet a day, gets absorbed, and it'll stay in the body for a while. No, it will dip off really quickly. So we try to make these medicines kind of what we call modified release.
Yeah.
So we can change the way it opens up in the tummy, basically. It
Yeah.
kind of releases
The
more slowly.
the way tablet like
So
travels and
ex-
slowly goes in your body.
exactly. So it's absorbed more slowly, and the drug is slowly absorbed rather than quickly absorbed and quickly removed.
Yeah.
So Concerta is actually really smart in the sense that imagine a capsule, and then it's got a little they laser drill a hole at the top, and then what they do is they put a polymer. A polymer is just like, think of a sponge basically that's going to absorb water. So half of that capsule has got a little sponge in it that absorbs water, and the other half inside the capsule has a drug.
Yeah.
And what it does is the membrane of that capsule is semi-permeable to water, so water can pass through it. So water will go through, and it will be absorbed in the sponge part of the capsule.
Yeah.
And as that sponge is absorbing, it will get larger and larger and larger and larger, and start pushing the drug upwards, upwards, out of where the little hole that they've drilled at the top. So that way you can really slow down how much drug is being released from the capsule. So that now you've got this stimulant, this methylphenidate, that's actually, instead of it being absorbed really quickly, is slowly, slowly being pushed out. But that's only solves half the problem, because when you've got ADHD and you're taking a stimulant, you want to wake up in the morning and have an immediate effect.
Yeah.
So the problem with that mechanism that I've just described is that the drug is slowly being pushed out. It'll take a really long time for the drug to reach a level that we want in the body.
Yeah.
So what they also do is that they coat the capsule with the drug that's ready available.
Oh wow, that's
So
crazy.
you've got an immediate release methylphenidate that's just gonna dissolve and get absorbed. So the outer casing of the capsule has got the drug on it. It's going to get dissolve and get absorbed. So the concentrations of the blood shoot up, and then that little pump mechanism starts working and pushing that drug out slowly through that laser hole. We'll try and get a picture on it because it'll explain it better. And then we'll maintain that level throughout the whole day. And I think that is just
drug on the outside
Drug on
as
the
well as
outside.
the sponge and whole
drug
technology
and the
so
drug
that
in the
it's
inside. and
released slowly.
If
That's
you wanted to,
crazy.
it's engineering. Pharmaceutical science is like engineering for medicine. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think that's crazy. And what's one big mistake that you made in your career or in your pharmacy career or just in general?
In general, just
In
the
general, in
biggest
your life.
mistake of your life. So I've been fortunate enough to not have caused a catastrophic mistake yet. No one's been seriously injured yet under my watch. If there is a medication error,
Yeah.
a dose error, or the wrong choice of medication was used, they tend to point the finger at us before they point the finger at a physician. And I think it's
agree.
because they hold us for medicines at a higher standard, and rightly so. I personally haven't made a medicinal error, but sometimes people think of errors as it has to be something catastrophic, something that was, sometimes the smallest things, and sometimes it's a shame, sometimes the smallest things cause the biggest errors.
That's
And
true.
we've had a case where something simple as just the patient accidentally taking the wrong medication. We have all the beds have their own medication locker.
Yeah.
And these medication lockers need to be emptied for each patient that leaves, right? So a
Yeah,
patient comes in,
absolutely.
they leave, the nurses and the pharmacy team make sure it's empty, and the next patient comes in. And there's one patient, it wasn't completely emptied, so the next patient came in, and then when that patient left, he went home with everything, his medications and some medications from the previous patient. And the previous patient was on warfarin. Now,
Oh.
warfarin is a blood thinner. Actually, if you've got very elderly audience members, warfarin, they might remember warfarin being a rat poison. It's a blood thinning
Drug.
And the problem is this patient didn't need a blood thinner, went home with the warfarin, took the warfarin because he was none the wiser, thought it was newly started for him, didn't know what it was for, and he died. He died.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And all it was the case that it wasn't an error with missing the diagnosis, and it wasn't an error with giving like accidentally prescribing something incorrectly. It was literally the most avoidable error possible, and that is not something you want to see in practice.
Yeah, that is like a small mistake that, oh gosh,
It's when it's avoidable, like really avoidable, that makes a bigger shame. If you've done everything you can for a patient and they pass away, you've done everything you can. But if you've literally made an error and that's what's caused the death of the patient, and it's something that should never have happened, and it's so avoidable and so easily to avoid and required no effort or knowledge to actually prevent that from happening, it's a big shame. It's more than a shame. It's not acceptable.
Yeah, it's yeah, I
But yeah,
can't. Yeah,
we can't end this
but
podcast on a really
it's
sad
no,
note.
we'll move on. But like, it's literally that's how I feel. That's why sometimes, well, I've been working now for 5 years in hospital, and especially when it comes to take-home medication, what we call TTO, when patients are going home, I like triple check myself. Like I'm like checking, then checking again, then checking again. And sometimes I'm like, am I paranoid? Like, am I crazy? But I'm like, no.
You'll go to another patient.
Rather,
go back to that one. Like,
exactly.
check
again. Rather safe than sorry.
Yeah.
And that's why we a huge respect, even though this wasn't really a pharmacist mistake.
No,
it wasn't. It has nothing to do with pharmacy. But still, other things can happen. And I feel like it's so important to be focused and concentrated and to triple check. But something like different, less traumatic and stressful, but well, is it? What's the most ridiculous myth about medication that you've heard, or something that people believe about medication, or even supplements, or like overrated supplement that you just feel like it's not the case? It's not true.
There are a lot of the thing is with pharmacists, we're always told to be vigilant about herbal medication. Because you walk into these herbal stores and none of these are regulated stuff. And although there may be evidence behind them, you'll look up a paper and you'll be like, oh yeah, this works. What you're buying, you can never be assured of, because there's no FDA, there's no MHRA, EMA. So these are all the medicine regulatory agencies that's approving what you're taking. You could be taking something, I don't know, you could be taking anything. They're just saying that this is what it's on it. They have no legal obligation to be telling the truth.
That's true.
So that's the first thing to be cautious of, more than what you're taking. And there's a lot of things that are hyped up. So lion's mane, hyped up a lot. might just be on my TikTok feed. I don't know. It might be a tailored algorithm, but I see it a lot. And
What is it used for again?
it's like memory, concentration,
Yeah.
and if you actually look at it, any trials that have been done haven't really been conclusive, and there haven't been any good quality trials. Nothing's compared lion's mane to nothing, or lion's mane to something else, like an actual medication. So
Okay.
that's, I mean, the thing is, it might be beneficial because
Yeah.
just because there's no evidence for it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means we haven't developed evidence for it.
Yeah.
But for example, there are things that are herbal that are like St. John's wort, still a risky medication to take, interacts with a lot of things.
Interacts with a lot of things.
But actually has shown to be on par with antidepressants for mild to moderate depression. Acupuncture.
Yeah.
Acupuncture, there's a Cochrane review. So Cochrane is like one of the highest quality evidences you can use because it's like a meta-analysis of a meta-analysis. And there's a whole Cochrane review that showed acupuncture being superior to medication for the prevention of migraines.
Oh, wow.
So there's definitely non-medicinal things that are hyped up and are true.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to navigate it when it's not controlled by an agency.
But funny thing, something I looked into a lot and did a lot of research is homeopathy.
Oh no.
I know, everyone's like, oh no, not you as well. But like, you will be impressed how many doctors are actually, they give up medicine. The way the homeopathy was discovered was a guy who was a doctor and he hated how things are being done in hospital and he discovered homeopathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, the thing is with homeopathy, it's just the idea of homeopathy is you give yourself something to cure it, right?
Something that causes the disease, very diluted to treat. Yeah.
But the level of dilution, I'm going to get a lot of comments on this. If you did dilute to this level, it's basically like having one drop in the whole ocean. And you can imagine that if I diluted it to that extent, there is a chance that if I've diluted the whole barrel to that extent and I've poured it into 5 cups,
yeah,
4 out of the 5 actually won't even contain anything because you diluted it so much. The chances of something actually being in it, if you think about it, you've got one drop in the whole ocean.
Yeah.
And I take a cup and I go to the Mediterranean Ocean and I take some water, that drop might be all the way in somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing in that water. So
you're trying to say that it's not effective because you're not.
Listen, I'm happy we can do a whole podcast on homeopathy and you can convince me about it and you can prove me wrong.
What you're trying to say is that it's not very effective, as in like there's not much of a substance, but that might just be then, the placebo effect is doing the thing, right? Which is not, if it's helpful, like it helps in your mind.
So going back to the placebo effect, the migraine acupuncture thing that I was talking about, giving placebo acupuncture, so giving actual acupuncture showed to be better than medication for preventing migraines.
Yeah.
Giving placebo acupuncture showed to be as beneficial as medication for migraines. So you can't underestimate placebo.
Yeah, there is definitely the placebo effect.
Whether or not you sell it as a placebo effect, whether or not you sell it as actual therapy, is up for debate. But we'll leave it there.
We'll leave it there. Do you think that pharmacy is still a good career path, and would you recommend your future child? I don't even know if you want to have a child, but I hope you do. Would you recommend to anyone younger to study pharmacy and go into hospital pharmacy?
So this is where I tell you that I've got 6 children.
Stop. Stop.
No, so the thing is, what I want to emphasize is that what I mentioned before is that pharmacy really is a life science before it is a health science.
Yeah.
And it's basically consists of different specialties: medicinal chemistry, pharmacology, pharmaceutical science, all in one, and you can really make it your own. So you can finish a pharmacy degree, not even register as a pharmacist and do something completely else. You can go into industry. You can industry as a medicinal chemist, or you can go to industry as a pharmacologist, or you can go industry in terms of marketing. Because it's so varied, it is, for me, it's an easy recommendation because it is so varied. If you are like that, if you like health sciences, but you like the science aspect more than the health aspect or the patient-facing aspect, I think it's a really good field to go into.
I don't know if I'll recommend my child to do pharmacy. Maybe not, but I agree with you. you have so many options. People don't even know, and they don't teach you that at uni necessarily, but it's not just hospital, it's not just, community, local drugstore, it's working in prison, working for academia, doing PhD,
Or outside of pharmacy.
outside.
I have friends who've not
Yeah.
even in pharmacy.
Nothing
They're in tech,
pharmacy related.
or
Yeah,
they're in
absolutely.
something recruitment.
Yeah.
It's just there are a lot of, I don't want to say the word everyone says transferable skills, but
it is transferable skills. You
transferable.
learn communication, you learn empathy. But no, that's great. Okay, this is a bit of I don't know if I can ask this, but do you think that pharmacists are underpaid for what we do?
I think I'll be this. Honestly, you're gonna disagree. This is like my honest answer. I genuinely think initially, I think we're very well paid.
100%.
I think we start off very well.
Very well, yeah.
And I think that carries on for a few years, but the ceiling hits really quickly and it's quite low.
Ali, this was very, very interesting.
No, thanks. It was interesting. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I love having this conversation. It's nice to sit down with colleague and tell other people what we kind of live day to day and what happens behind the closed doors in NHS and hospital. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy this. And when I see you next time, I want to hear about all your publications and all your successes. And are you going to try for PhD again? What do you think?
I think so. I think I've got a couple of things I want to do first. And then I'm gonna swallow that pill and try the PhD again. I'll try it. We'll see. Maybe not. You know what? We're going to find out if we come again.
Yeah, next time you come, you tell us. Maybe it's the third time to luck. Maybe we'll have to fail again. Yeah, and then, but let's see. But I think definitely never give up is what I would say.
If you still want to do it, don't give up.
Don't give up. Yep. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I release episodes every Tuesday, so do join me next time as well. Please leave your feedback and see you. Bye.